The age. No one prepares you for it. There's a specific kind of pressure that doesn't show up in your 20s. It doesn't scream like heartbreak. It doesn't panic like early career failure. It's quieter than that. It shows up somewhere between 35 and 45, and it doesn't feel like a crisis at first. It feels like, wait, a subtle awareness that time is no longer theoretical. You wake up one morning and realize you are no longer on your way. You are here. This is it. The life you once imagined is either taking shape or it isn't. And no one really talks about that moment. In your 20s, people expect you to struggle. In your early 30s, people expect you to build. But by your late 30s, there's an unspoken expectation that you should have figured it out. Career stable, finances growing, health intact, family secure. And if any of those feel fragile, you don't always say it out loud, because at this age, vulnerability feels expensive. I remember the first time I noticed it, not in a dramatic way, just standing in the kitchen one night, doing something ordinary, and it hit me. No one is coming to rescue me anymore. Not my parents, not luck, not someday. If I don't build this life, it stays unfinished. And that realization is heavier than most people admit. Midlife isn't loud, it's quiet, but it changes how you breathe. And maybe that's the part that surprises us most. You don't suddenly fall apart. You just become more aware that the clock is moving, aware that decisions now have longer shadows, aware that postponing things feels riskier than trying. It's not panic, it's clarity. And clarity, when it arrives without warning, can feel like pressure. The illusion of security. When we're younger, we believe stability will arrive automatically. Work hard, be responsible, follow the path, and stability will reward you. But somewhere between 35 and 45, you start seeing something uncomfortable. Security is thinner than it looks. You watch companies restructure overnight. You see experienced professionals replaced by younger hires. You hear stories of executives let go after decades of loyalty. It's not fear, it's awareness. And that awareness can feel like standing on ground that suddenly feels less solid. There's an economic principle people talk about, being indispensable. In theory, if you're valuable enough, you can't be replaced. But life doesn't always follow theory. The market shifts, technology evolves, industries collapse. And at this age, you can't afford to ignore that reality. I once read about Howard Schultz, the former CEO of Starbucks. Before Starbucks became what it is today, he was rejected by investors more than 200 times. 200. Imagine being in your late 30s pitching a vision and being told no again and again. He didn't have guaranteed security. He didn't have proof it would work. He had conviction. But here's what people miss about stories like his. Conviction feels very different when you have a mortgage, when you have employees depending on you, when you have a family watching. Midlife ambition is not reckless. It's calculated. It carries responsibility. And that's what makes it heavier. You're no longer gambling alone. And maybe that's why so many people at this age don't dream less. They just dream more carefully. They ask different questions. Not can I, but should I? Not is this exciting, but is this sustainable? Security at midlife isn't about comfort, it's about durability. The body keeps the score. There's something else no one prepares you for. Your body. In your 20s, you could run on 5 hours of sleep. You could push through stress. Now, you feel it. You feel stress in your chest, in your shoulders, in your sleep patterns. There's research showing chronic stress accelerates aging, but you don't need research to know that. You feel it when you wake up tired after a full night's sleep. At this age, your body is no longer a background character. It becomes the foundation. And suddenly, health isn't about appearance. It's about longevity. You start realizing something uncomfortable. You can rebuild a career. You can rebuild finances. But rebuilding health? That's different. There's a reason Ray Kroc didn't find massive success with McDonald's until his 50s. People romanticize that story, but they rarely mention how hard he pushed himself physically for decades. Sales jobs, travel, stress. By the time he scaled McDonald's, he wasn't young. He was relentless, but also worn. And that's the paradox of midlife. You finally understand the game, but your energy is no longer infinite. So the question becomes, where do you spend it? Because now every late night has a cost. Every ignored symptom lingers longer. Every postponed checkup feels more serious. Midlife quietly teaches you that sustainability is strength. And strength at this stage isn't loud. It's disciplined. The quiet comparison. Here's something else people don't admit. Comparison doesn't disappear with age. It evolves. In your 20s, you compare potential. In your 40s, you compare outcomes. Who built more? Who exited earlier? Who looks healthier? Who seems freer? And social media doesn't help. At this age, success stories feel closer to you. They're not abstract anymore. They're peers. And that can either motivate you or quietly erode your confidence. But here's what I've noticed. The most stable people I know at this age don't try to win the comparison game. They narrow their focus. They stop trying to be impressive. They start trying to be solid. That shift is subtle, but powerful. It's less about being admired, more about being anchored. They measure progress differently, not by headlines, but by alignment, not by applause, but by peace. And that's when something interesting happens. Comparison loses its grip, because when you're building something meaningful, you don't have time to scan the room. You're too busy reinforcing your own foundation. The real shift. I don't think midlife is a crisis. I think it's a recalibration, a moment where illusions fall away. You stop assuming time is unlimited. You stop assuming stability is guaranteed. You stop assuming effort alone protects you. And, strangely, that clarity can feel freeing, because once you accept that nothing is guaranteed, you stop waiting. You become more intentional, more protective of your energy, more selective with your commitments, more honest about what matters. You don't chase everything. You build deliberately. Midlife isn't about starting over. It's about building wisely. And maybe that's the real message no one told us. Between 35 and 45, you're not supposed to feel invincible. You're supposed to feel aware that time matters, aware that health matters, aware that your choices compound faster now. And if you feel pressure at this age, maybe it's not a sign you're failing. Maybe it's a sign you finally understand what's at stake. Maybe this season of life isn't here to break you. Maybe it's here to sharpen you, to slow you down just enough to choose carefully, to move deliberately, to protect what truly sustains you. If you're somewhere in this chapter right now, navigating responsibility, quiet pressure, and the weight of expectations, I hope you don't mistake awareness for weakness. It might actually be maturity. Take care of your health, protect your focus, guard your time. And if the pressure feels heavy some days, that doesn't mean you're behind. It may simply mean you finally understand the value of what you're building. Wherever you are in this stage of life, I hope you move forward with steadiness. And more than anything, I hope you stay well enough to enjoy the years you're working so hard to create.